Longevity Lifestyle Designers, this is Gavin here with secretsoflongevity.com. I've been asked a lot of questions over the years about fish oils. I've answered them in past videos or just generally talked about them, made offhand recommendations in relation to various issues. I've taken fish oils on and off for a number of years. I've never actually had any great difficulty with digesting them. Never had that burp up flavor of fish or anything like that some people report. And just from a non-scientific point of view, I'll talk about the science in a moment, just from my own experience but also hearing other people's experience and them talking about good and bad experiences with it, it's very key that just like any health approach we're taking on any supplement or diet or lifestyle factor, that we accept that there's probably going to be a range of what works for people. They might do well on fish oil, they might do poorly on fish oil. They might do better on some other type of long-chain omega-3 oil. They might need to not have any of it in their diet. And a major factor probably historically to this is different ancestries of different people, so different cultures either lived on coastal shorelines that consumed a lot of seafood or they didn't. If you lived more inland, you were converting a lot more of the plant omega-3 oils, the shorter chain omega-3 oils that you were getting in your diet, or at least your ancestors were. And so that ability either grew or remained the same from people even before then, going back into various types of primates. They would have had that ability to convert the short chain omega-3s to the longer ones. But then you also have to consider that people further inland would have gotten their long chain omega-3s from things like animal brains. They would have been eating those, sweetbreads and other types of animal brains. But still, some people just don't do well with much seafood or any seafood in their diet. And you have to listen to your body. If you're getting burping up whatever type you're consuming, then you obviously don't want to keep taking it. I'm also not a big fan of some people megadose on it for long periods of time. That just doesn't seem necessary. I don't believe that the body can even use it that rapidly. As far as I know, there's no way the body can use large doses of fish oil very rapidly. Perhaps if you were extremely deficient and just hadn't gotten any oils, short chain or long chain omega-3 oils in a very long time, you might do that for a week. But anything more than that, and you're just throwing oil into your body that is the most volatile type of oil that is going to oxidize and be the most damaging to your body in comparison to other types of oils that might be in other fats that you would get naturally through the diet. So that's where a lot of the criticism for omega-3 oil consumption comes from when we start to look at the science. Increasingly, there's more of the anti-fish oil camp that's catching up to the pro-fish oil camp that exists within the research. I'm no expert on having read all the research that's out there. I don't specialize in any one thing, so I'm not totally caught up on that in that sense. I keep an eye out for different studies as people talk about them and try and look to other experts that do focus in on more supplement-based research that have the time and understanding of what's going on there, because you also have to consider financial interests and the different ways that the studies are set up. I think it's fair to say that there's probably some truth to both sides of it, but you also have to remember that stuff that goes on in the body is dependent on a lot of different things. So if you're taking fish oil on top of a diet that gives you plenty of other sources, either from seafood or from shorter chain omega-3s, and your body's sufficient at converting them, then taking fish oil on top of that could be setting you up for having too much and causing inflammation in the body. There's prostate problems connected with fish oil. Too many polyunsaturated fats in general are very damaging to the thyroid in excess. So that's going to bring down thyroid function. You can't really test these things. You just have to have a vague understanding of how this biology works. So polyunsaturated fats, the ones that mainstream science thinks are the healthiest, but they're actually probably the least healthiest. So out of the polyunsaturated fats, there's two types. There's omega-3s and omega-6s. There's some other in-betweens as well. We're not going to talk about those. It gets too complex and not worth the time. But the omega-3s, which we're talking about here, there's roughly 3 types: ALA, EPA, and DHA. And then with the omega-6s, there's a whole host of those. We're not getting into those. But what we want to remember is that we want a ratio of about 2 to 1, 3 to 1, maybe even 4 to 1 of the total content of omega-6 to omega-3 in our body to be in that ratio. So if we're at our healthiest, in theory, if you were to take out all the omega-3 and omega-6 out of people's bodies, you'd have 2 to 4 times more omega-6 to omega-3. Some people even say it's closer to 1 to 1. But when you look at the composition of most animals that are out in the wild eating their natural diet, it's about 2 to 1. You eat a steak that's grass-fed, it's about 3 to 1 to 2 to 1 in its ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s. Whereas grains, a lot of different grains, beans, and the majority of nuts and seeds have anywhere from 6 to 1 to 50 to 1 in terms of their ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s. So you can see how if your diet is based on nuts, grains, legumes, but even if the meat you're eating is consuming those things, you're going to end up with a body composition that is very lacking in the omega-3 in terms of the overall balance, and so that sets up a very inflammatory environment for your body, which then needs the omega-3 to bring itself back into a balance. Now you can have that ratio out of balance, but that ratio could be already too high. So yes, adding the omega-3 in would bring you back into balance by megadosing on a fish oil supplement for a week. But overall, you have too much polyunsaturated fat, so what you actually need to be doing is removing the omega-6s from your diet and not going hog wild on the omega-3s and bringing your whole internal environment of your fatty acid composition back towards saturated fat dominant with some monounsaturated fat and very tiny amounts of polyunsaturated fat in terms of the actual food you're consuming. So while it's hard to know what's occurring in all these different studies that happen that say fish oils are bad or fish oils are good, we can kind of guess that there's a whole host of different possibilities that could be going on in each of these circumstances. So neither camp, in my opinion, has a very strong argument for completely disregarding or completely accepting fish oil supplements. So that just kind of gives you the perspective of how tenuous and yet to be conclusive this area of research is. I personally feel great when I take a small amount of a fish oil on a regular basis. So I'm going to talk about what one I take. And then you have to then decide what one works well for you. If you're vegetarian or vegan, you definitely should look at algae oil. I'm a big fan of that. I've taken it before. I took it when I was vegan. Felt great on it. You have to look at the ratio of EPA to DHA because some have a ton of DHA and not enough EPA. Some are almost all EPA and no DHA. And you want anywhere from equal to 1 to 3 ratio of EPA to DHA. And I think most that are coming out now are much more balanced. I know Udo's oil, they're pure algae oil, not the 369 oil. Udo's oil is big on things like flaxseed oil, and I'm not a fan of that. So avoid that, but their algae oil seems to be pretty decent. Sometimes just getting lots of purslane, various greens, wild greens, you're getting a lot of omega-3s that way. By the way, purslane is the only plant food that is a land plant food that I'm aware of that actually contains the EPA and DHA in sufficient quantities that you can actually get enough for it to mimic a fish oil supplement. Garlic has a little bit of, I forget if it's EPA or DHA in it, but not enough to make it supplement worthy. And if you wanted to just focus on food sources and you were omnivorous, you could be looking at, whole fresh seafood if it's a safe and clean source. I'm not going to get into different types because that's a video in and of itself. Then you also have animal brains, again, a very clean source, grass-fed, if you're going to be eating that. Various algae, like blue-green algae or spirulina, will give you a bit of that as well. And then if you are looking to just take a fish oil, you have cod liver oil, straight regular fish oil made from various types of fish, krill oil, shark oil. I definitely recommend not using shark oil for the reasons of we're not wanting to deplete that resource, plus sharks bioaccumulate a lot more toxins than almost every other type of sea animal. So you're really only looking at 3 possibilities: cod liver oil, krill, regular fish oil. I've taken great products from each camp. My all-time favorite, which I have no problem taking now, and I know it's clean, I know it's pure. Some people think the fermenting is questionable, but fermented cod liver oil and or fermented skate liver oil is what I recommend and have recommended for a while on my videos. And you're getting a lot of very good nutrients in with that, the vitamin A, the bioavailable vitamin D, which isn't bioavailable in regular cod liver oil because it hasn't been fermented. You also have the vitamin K2 that's produced through the fermentation process. And you can really only get this product through Green Pastures, the company that makes that, plus butter oil. Those are great in combination. Krill oil, I don't know enough about the industry to recommend any one product, but if you feel like that is plausible, then look into that. Regular fish oil companies. It's really, again, this is more to do with the specifics of how the industries work. I'm not an expert on that. I know there's roughly 3 different types of ways that fish oil are processed, either molecular distillation, that's actually what the original question was about, what are my thoughts on that. CO2, I'm not sure what they do with the CO2, but somehow it purifies the fish oil. Cold pressed filtering of some type. So I don't know which one works best. I've just done enough research on the fermented cod liver oil to know that that is really safe and works well for me. Some people can't stomach it, in which case I'd say maybe go for fish oil. And from the brief foray into those 3 types of purification I was looking at, the molecular distillation looks decent and it looks like the best of the 3. The cold pressed one doesn't sound as good. It resoundingly seemed like the highest quality companies were using that method, so I'd go with that if you were looking for a straight fish oil. Now, I personally, other benefits I've seen from taking fish oil is it makes my skin great. It makes my brain really sharp. I find my thoughts are quicker. I'm more articulate. I have never taken before and after IQ tests, but I'd probably guess that my IQ is at a higher level when I'm taking it. And I've never tried to pay attention to see if it drops very fast. I know after a while of not taking it, my brain just isn't as sharp. So it's definitely something I recommend for cognitive improvement. It's pretty clear that it does that, and all the research seems to highly support that. And once again, I'd encourage you to do your own research on this before taking any products I've mentioned or that you come across. And it is safe to say that the cheapest brands of certain things are going to be the lowest quality. So I've never let myself take the lowest quality stuff out there. I've seen people taking it, and it just does not look like good stuff. You see these things of fish oil sitting out in, not even refrigerated, in health food stores or even grocery stores, the most conventional brands, and you have to really wonder what sitting out at that temperature is doing to them. This stuff should be refrigerated once you open it. It should be generally refrigerated when it's being stored, if the health food store has enough sense to do that. And yeah, just be cautious when out there and using these products, because it is such a big industry. There is going to be a lot of bad crap on the market. You have to do your research and really feel how your body reacts to a certain product, and even rotate through a few different ones to see what you like the best. So let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. Like, favorite, and share this video if you feel so inclined, and with that, I'll talk to you next time. Take care and embrace life without limits.